One Inside, an internal family systems podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Sollenberger. Today, we are talking about drag therapy with my amazing and fabulous guest, Leon Silvers. Welcome back. Here we are, season 2. I can't believe it. It's been a relaxing, sort of weird, confusing month off. The shift from summer to school, and it's just pretty weird. And I think lots of people are feeling that way too. So I'm excited to be back with you. I wish that I could see you all face to face and without our masks on, and we could hug and just be together. But we can't do those things. So we're just going to be together in this way. And I'm super excited. So on today's episode, I chat with Leon Silvers. He is the founder of Drag Therapy, and he's the star of Drag Heals. Well, he's not really the star, but he is the star of his own episode, which is season 2, episode 2. So we can call him a star. So first, I just want to check in because I'm super curious about how your parts reacted to the title of this episode. They must have been a little bit okay to let you listen to this part so far. So I'm just curious. I'm curious if your parts, just how your parts are reacting to the title. And I'm hoping and just inviting you to be curious about your parts' reactions too. I was really surprised about what drag therapy is and what it isn't. I was surprised by how open and creative I began to feel just by talking to Leon. And I hope that you get that too. We talk about how self energy is contagious, and I feel like the self of Leon and how creative and interesting he is just that's contagious, and I hope that you'll feel some of that too. So just give you a little bit of a little bit of an outline. We talk about expansive play, and that kind of helps me appreciate one of my critics that comes up a little bit. We talk about freedom and creativity and opening up to all the parts of us inside. I loved us talking about the power of embodying parts, and by embodying parts, it really gives them voice. And we talked about using fiction, and how fiction can allow us this more expansive embodying and more expansive voice. And also, I think with using fiction, it helps allow some of those managers to kind of loosen up a little bit. And we get to meet a couple of my parts. One, Leon calls my Tom the lawyer manager, which is super funny. And yeah, so I appreciate that. And then we end sort of about the 40-minute mark. We end with talking about wilderness therapy and playing with category. So it's super fun, really, really interesting. On the show notes, I give you his website, the drag therapy website, his link to an episode to the episode of Drag Heals, also to the TED Talk that we talk about that neither one of us sort of have an idea about. So I give you a link to that on the show notes. It's so good to be with you. I hope you enjoy the episode. Let Leon and I know what you think. Both of us are pretty active on Instagram. So follow us on Instagram. He is Drag Therapy on Instagram, and I am IFS Tammy. Enjoy the episode.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Excited.
Me too.
So tell me what you're wearing.
What am I? Well, this is nothing to brag about. This is just a little old schmata compared to what I have over there. Just a colorful shirt.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm like, you're not wearing a tutu or anything fabulous.
I'm in work drag right now.
Oh, work drag. Okay, I'm
I
in work
am.
drag too. It's so boring.
Oh, you got flower. Oh, we're both
I do have
flowers
flowers. Yep,
today.
I do have some pretty flowers on.
Oh, that's all you need.
Okay, all right, I'll
Right?
take it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. No, me too. I'm like, I got a little color. I've been working
Yeah.
in workout clothes this week, which I've never done. But I was like, I'm in work. Yeah, I've never done that ever in my life. But I felt really comfortable. No one said anything, and I'm like, okay, I can be in my workout clothes, and I'm like working.
Well, I don't know that people can tell. So with the whole COVID thing, I definitely have worn, I call it my sporty spice. Like I'm in my like sporty spice thing, and I don't think people can really tell. So, yeah.
Yeah, or they just don't really care because everyone's in home work. Well, work drag is a different thing now. It's like we're in like COVID work drag.
Yeah, so I
It's really
have, yeah, so I have on like, so I'm in my office today and I have on my work drag clothes, but I have on like my flip-flops. So I'm not wearing like my cute, I haven't worn cute work sandals with like heels in a while. I almost did today though, but I was like, eh.
yeah. So what is eh?
Okay, let me show you my eh. They're kind of cute,
Oh, they're cute.
right? So they're my
Cheetah
S.
print.
They're my cheetah print flip-flops.
Oh, that's so fun. I should have worn. So what I just tried on, actually, I'll take my computer with me. Um, right before our call, I just bought this little cheetah onesie. So it's
Oh
funny
my
that
gosh,
we like match in a way.
we're twinsies.
We are.
Where does one buy a cheetah onesie?
I so the last place I was Kalispell, Montana, and I had to buy, which is right outside of Glacier National Park, and I had to buy costumes for photo shoots and stuff. And I found this number at one of the thrift stores.
That's
So,
amazing.
so she's a thrift store find.
Love a thrift store find.
Me too. It's my life. Although the last place I was, there were like two doors down from where we were staying was this woman's boutique. When I found, I think I bought seven dresses, which are like fab. I did like a photo shoot with three dresses in Glacier, which you will see at some point. They're they're pretty. They're something.
I love it.
Um, and then I got a wedding gown. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have two questions. One is when you're doing the photo shoots, are you doing that for your social media or are you doing that for the show or what are you doing the photo shoots for?
What do you mean
Or
the show?
the show that you're doing, like the season, the show that
Oh
you're
no, that's
doing.
already no.
That's
That's I'm not
done.
really a part of that. Yeah, I just filmed that one episode.
Oh, okay, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I just did season two, episode two. That's it. That was in January, and that's done.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, this is just for drag therapy for my Instagram and for this project that I'm doing.
Ooh, can you say more about a project?
Yeah, so the project is Prancing the Paths with Pink Floyd. So that's my drag name is Pink Floyd.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay, so
so
wait, so it's not just dressing in drag, you also can get a drag name? Hmm.
of course. So just like in IFS, you have different parts. Some people name their parts. In
Hmm.
drag therapy, you certainly can name your drag parts of yourself. I mean, my overall drag queen persona is Pink Floyd. Um, but if I was doing drag therapy myself, each new creation would have a new unique name.
Hmm.
But Pink Floyd, she's someone who I've kind of gotten to know, found her voice throughout the years, and really have kind of played with and have grown as a unique character. So you can find a part that you really like, let's say, that you really connect with, and you can just keep growing that part, and that can be your one a drag part.
Okay. So that's gonna just I feel like I'm just gonna have to jump into this. So instead of doing my like ask you where you are, which I'm not sure if you're up for telling where you are because you're doing a little bit of traveling. So
Yeah, so
usually I start with like where are you in the world? But maybe we should just say that you were
I'm on a tree. Pretty much. That's not really a lie. I pretty much am in a tree. Um,
okay, you're gonna have to tell me
I've
about
been
that.
working. Well, in my backyard where I am, I have a tree, and I've been working in the tree. So,
Like in a
uh,
tree house?
no, like in the tree area, there's like a whole. I'm like enclosed in this tree.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's chilly right now where I am, so I can't be there now. Otherwise, I'd be with you under my tree.
Yeah, that's where I kind of want to be, but that's okay. Um,
It's nourishing, yes. You have your
I
hand on your
love it.
heart. That's exactly how
Yeah.
I feel. I'm like,
Mm,
it makes work so wonderful to be with patients in a tree. Is
mm.
to say the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's the other. There's been some blessings with this COVID thing, and that's definitely one of them. Is like to be with patients in, like to be outside together. Like one of my, I used to see a lot of teens. I don't see as many teens anymore, but one of my teens, she lives on a farm, and let's walk out together on your farm. And so I'm gonna walk outside, you walk outside, and let's just be together outside. And it was lovely.
Yeah. That's essentially what I'm doing right now. That's the point of this project, is to really encourage
Mm,
people to be outside in a safe way if they can.
yeah, yeah, it makes such a big difference. And to dress to dress for outside and not just sporty spice. Because when I go for hikes and my son and I go and we do all this kind of fun stuff outside, and I just am sporty spice, and it's not as fun.
Hmm. Well, the reason why I kind of do over the top costumes is to, I mean, there's many different reasons of why I'm doing this, but one is to just be who you are, whoever that is, whatever that looks like. If it's a
Mm.
man in a tutu, or if it's a non-binary person in a tutu, whoever you are, to just to be that, no matter where that is.
Well, I love that also to be whoever you are that day, right? So yesterday I was an anxious Annie yesterday. And so it was just like bare feet on the ground was about all I could do yesterday.
Yeah.
And so I love that. So one of the things that we talked about with drag therapy is that drag just means costume. Because I think there's a
Mhm.
part of me that felt like intimidated, like, well, can we have this conversation? Like, I don't know, like, can I dress in drag? It's just like a straight white girl that doesn't, can I do that? And you said no, that it just means costume. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, about being a straight white woman, you could certainly be a drag queen too. So people have a misconception of drag and drag queen. You can certainly be a drag queen. You don't have to be a man and dressing up as a woman to be a drag queen. Anyone can be a drag queen.
See, I didn't
Um,
know that. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
so they call them either bio queens or faux queens, which I don't like. I think that's derogatory. I think you're just a queen. If you want to be a queen, be a queen.
Hmm.
But drag is just self-expression. That's all it is. Drag queen is a certain type of drag artistry, but there's a whole umbrella of drag artistry, and that's just using costume, makeup, performance, dance, um, well, you know, all the art forms of drag, or what you know of it. Humor, reading, you know, reading.
No.
Oh, reading is one of my favorite parts. So reading is like insulting someone, but in a clever way that's not like an insult, because when you read someone, it's like they know and you're just confirming it, but it's a witty, clever way. So it takes a level of creativity to read someone,
Okay.
because you don't want to insult them. You want to like pick at them, but in a way they're like, yeah, you're right. Um, so that's a drag art form. I've had a discussion with a patient about reading,
Love it.
which it's quite fantastic.
I could never do that because I'm like I'm way too sensitive, and then when I'm like, oh, okay, and then I'll say something incredibly insulting, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I would be terrible at that.
That's why we get to play with it, right? So you can
Oh
read me,
no.
because you know my background is in psychoanalysis, so you know I always encourage patients to put their aggression and their anger directed at me. That's the
Mm,
safe place to put it. So when they can read me, that's even better. So please read me. I welcome it. But that's just one of the. I mean, there's so much to drag, and that's the point, right? It's really anything you want it to be,
mm,
because it's just playing, right? I
yeah.
think drag queens have kind of cornered the market a little bit and have made it like it needs to look like this, but that's so not the case. Just like with art therapy, right? You don't have to be Van Gogh to do art therapy,
Right.
or to be an artist, right? It's so subjective.
Yeah.
It's the same with drag. You're just kind of playing with what, you know, all these different things. I do a lot of drag queen stuff just because I know how to do drag queen makeup. I know how to strut. I know, like, that's my background. I can be a fierce queen, but I also like to do other things as well.
So one of the things we talked about is like embodying these parts. And as you were talking, I was thinking, wow, I feel like so I'll just speak for myself. I feel like and with working with teenagers, sort of in teenage girls especially, I feel like in middle school, kind of like puberty, I feel like we learn to play small, let's say it that way. So
Mhm.
even that idea of like being able to be more expansive and to be more, I'm using my hands and sort of making
Yeah.
myself a little bit bigger, right? To step into that would just feel so freeing. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the point. And that's kind of how is that I do encourage people to embody those parts of themselves, right? So you can feel more expansive, right? And I think right now, especially with COVID, we're all so constricted. We
Yeah.
are all just kind of, we're confined. And why I'm doing this in the wilderness, why I think drag therapy is so important right now, because it's about freedom, about being who you are, opening
Mm,
up in all parts of yourself.
mm.
Um, so so yeah, that's the point. Be open.
Yeah, which is so interesting that you're saying that during COVID because COVID is restricting, right? We
Mhm.
are wearing masks, we are staying inside. Like it's, from where I am in the country, it's getting better. Like the restaurants are opening, like things are, so much better. But I know it's not that way everywhere.
Yeah. No, but I think that's, yeah. I
You're
mean,
like, no.
well, things are opening, but then they're going to close. I mean, I've been in California and, things
Yeah,
have opened, but then they closed.
yeah,
So that we're kind of in this, contract, release, like it's just open and close, open and close.
yeah.
So what's a way we can try to stay open or free, right?
Right, especially in our bodies when this is
Absolutely.
such a bodied thing, right? COVID. So that idea, like, how can I stay open? So even as you said that, I thought, right, because I'm like, oh, so I have such lovely, amazing, naive parts that I love. And they're definitely like, oh, we're fine. Hee 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 hee. And then the idea of like, yeah, things are opening, but they're going to close again, another part of me is like, yeah, I know that. But that idea that they're going to close again actually feels like I need to be even
Mm,
more restrictive or more rigid or more turned in that like, oh my gosh, more safe, right? Like I gotta like get my people and get us really, really tight.
yeah. Well, I wish people could see you right now because I think no, your body is really reflecting kind of what we're doing societally, right?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
that's why I actually came to Portland to go to graduate school. I ended up leaving and going to NYU in New York, but I went there to study wilderness therapy because I've always found the wilderness to be a healing place. And since I've been here, I've been able to reconnect with that. And I think for me personally, it's been a place where I can be open because nature is so open. And I go to very remote places, like there's no one there for the most part. And it helps me stay open and stay playful. So with I mean, when this first happened, it was really challenging working with patients, because I'm going through it as well. So I've
Yeah.
had to do a lot of extra work on myself, and I found that, and I thought drag therapy was kind of done for a while, if not indefinitely, because it's costumes and people can't be in my office and they certainly can't recycle costumes. Um, so I've kind of connected with nature and then did the drag, and it's just allowed me to open so much because there's nature that allows you to open, but then also I think through using costume, through using all the elements of drag, also allowing me to just be open
Mm,
in a time that's so closed,
mm.
right? So I really liked your movement because in a tutu, you can't really constrict. You are just out and there.
The other thing that's coming up for me as you're talking is the idea that when we're open, like look what came from that, right? Because you're in New York City when this whole thing happened and you're doing drag therapy, which is that people are coming into your office. It's like regular private practice therapy, and people are coming into your office and like so I guess there's two things. One is tell me what that means. Like what did that look like?
Mhm.
And then the other my thought was that how cool it is that you thought, okay, we have to completely shut this whole thing down, but it like reinvented itself and this like you were open and then this like with openness comes more creativity, like with self, right? More creativity and more like this whole other cool thing is opening up for you that wouldn't have happened before. So that's two different
No,
things, but
that's right. Drag therapy was getting a lot of momentum. I did that reality show. I did most of what I've been doing is stuff at colleges,
mm,
because that's what's great about drag therapy. It doesn't necessarily need to just be clinical. It can be done in large group formats. It's not psychotherapy.
great. I love that.
It's more like workshops, but it can be done in an hour. It can be done in 5 hours. It can be done in I did RuPaul's Drag Con. I did an event at Gay Pride, and you can do it in 3 minutes. I mean, it
Wow.
really
Yeah.
can be as little or as big as you want. So when someone comes in, we can do a full, I mean, most of my work is doing regular psychotherapy with patients. This is just something, my baby that I've kind of grown.
Yeah.
But in my office, I have like thousands of things. So that's always an option if you want to play.
Mm.
Um, so, if someone comes in, we can do a full hour drag therapy session, or I run an LGBT group once a week, a process group. And once a month, we would do a drama therapy group using drag therapy elements. So, we got to do it in person. And then, like you said, when this happened, kind of got shut down. But just to give a little plug for therapy, I've been in therapy for 12 years. And currently I'm in 3 different therapies. I'm in an IFS therapy, which I've been in for the longest, with the most brilliant IFS therapist.
Shout out to your IFS therapist.
Ellen Gold, most wonderful human that has ever humaned. And then I'm in a developmental transformations therapy, which is drag therapy is largely influenced by that. It's in the field of drama therapy, and it's a play therapy. So you play with your patients. So my therapist and I mean, we were in person, you were playing in a room, but now it's virtual. And then I'm in a modern analytic group myself. So I'm in a lot of therapy, and that I think has really been a lifesaver for me. But I think also because I'm in such creative therapies, especially DVT, it allowed me to kind of open up creatively. And that I feel like has been the most healing for me personally, but also has allowed drag therapy to continue. Because I've been able to continue creatively, because that's the thing. I was so constricted when all this happened. Like my creativity was just kind of plummeted,
Yeah.
because I think we all were mourning, it's a big, collectively we are mourning. So creativity is kind of hard when you're in such grief. But because I continued to do the work on myself, I think I was able to open in all kinds of different ways. So, and I think this is therapeutic for me as well, right? Doing this, there's a lot of reasons why I'm doing this, but also it's really therapeutic for me, to be out in nature, to live my best life, to wear all the pink I want.
Can you back up a second and tell everyone, what does it look like to do a play therapy, like a play therapy session with using drag? Like, what does that look
Great.
like?
Yeah. So like I said, it can be done individually or in groups. The group one might be a little more challenging to explain quickly. So I'll just do an individual session. So a drag therapy session can start one of 2 ways. You can have a part you want to get to know, and you can pick drag to represent that part. Or, and what I prefer, what I think is most helpful, is you go to the closet and you pick what speaks to you. Because the belief is our clothes communicate. They communicate from a part, right? So it's a projective technique. So they pick out clothes, and like and I don't know if I mentioned this, but it doesn't have to be a full look. You can literally just pick a necklace, and that's all you need. And then you are the Queen of England, right? So I'll give that as an example. So someone picks out a necklace. I have looking at a tiara right there. Let me do a tiara. I like a tiara. So I pick out a tiara, and I am now the Queen of Amsterdam. And so I put a mirror in front of you, you take it in, you breathe in, I'll do a little meditation to help you kind of embody that part. And you are the Queen of Amsterdam. I am now the Queen of Amsterdam. And so I will interview the Queen of Amsterdam, ask a lot of questions, really help them embody the Queen of Amsterdam. I'll have, you can move. I definitely want to encourage movement. You want to embody that. And then it can go a lot of different ways. Some people just want to get to know that one part of themselves and just be interviewed and kind of be in that. You might do a sculpture with your body, like what would represent one of the strengths of the Queen of Amsterdam. She's regal. So you can't see me right now, but I'm doing like an Evita, kind of arms in the air, my head's propped, and just breathe that in. What's that like to feel that, right? Because although you are the Queen of Amsterdam, you are feeling that in your body. You are living that. So it can be simple like that. And we can do little things that way. Or, one of the questions is, so where do you live? What is your job like? And it can be like, well, I overrun the red light district. That's my primary job. Like, oh, would you like to visit that? Oh, and so I can then play with them. And so before all of this, we usually establish a contract. Some people want me to play with them. Some want me to just be an observer or a witness, or just the therapist asking questions and have them engage. But to your question about true play, if the contract is I play with them, I would then spontaneously be like, well, I am one of the courtesans of the red light district, and I want to do what I want. And so I'll play with them based on that. And so whatever happens, happens. And there's a developmental transformations concept called faithful rendering. So I want to faithfully render. I want to match them where I think is most helpful for them, where they are in the play, right? And I can get it wrong. They'll let me know.
Yeah.
And we'll know by seeing the flow of the play. And what happens is they'll then be, oh no, I want to be a courtesan too. So they'll take the tiara off and they'll put a boa on. I'm a courtesan as well. And then I might be the suitor. Well, I'm looking for a courtesan, right? So the play is transforming, right? Through using costume. DVT doesn't use any props. I use props. I love props. I think props are important. And so we can, and then that might morph into, but now we're in outer space. Yeah, where are we? And so then we're going to both be aliens. We're going to be planning the takeover of America, right? Or whatever, right? So it can be changing and transforming, and we're playing. So
Love it.
that's a little bit.
Thank you so much. This is a shame that this is just audio. What a shame. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what I was thinking is that one of the things, if I'm going to be the queen of Amsterdam, then I can feel in my body resources of power that maybe I don't remember or I'm not aware that are there.
Yeah.
That is like, I can pretend that I'm the queen of Amsterdam, and as I feel that and I'm embodying that and I'm playing with you, then, or even yeah, so as I'm playing with that, then it's like, wait, those are things that are in me, like the feeling of that's me, that's that resources that I have.
That's right.
And I was like, wow, that would be like thinking of like playing small, and then the idea that like I could have this power and I could feel this power, and what does that feel like and what does that look like and how do I hold myself different? Or even wearing the necklace, like if I put on the necklace, like how does that feel different and how do I hold myself in the world different? I mean, thinking of even wearing the shoes, the flip-flops, I probably, this is going to sound so stupid, but I'm sure that I walk different in my flip-flops than I do in my super cute wedge sandals that I'm like strutting across the parking lot. It's a different feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I only wear boots in these drag photo shoots I'm doing. I have these ball gowns and like the whole look, but I have boots. I have like hiking shoes. But I do have like a little pair of boots that I keep in the car. My partner brought them in and I was like, George, they're supposed to be in the car. And I finished this was after work yesterday. The shoes are supposed to be in the car. And I was like, well, let me just put them on real quick. And I was like, ooh, I felt great. So yes, just a little shoe. I was like, ooh, I just finished work. I'm like, I'm in a good mood all of a sudden. I'll look cute in these. So yes, I agree with you. Just a little shoe can make a whole difference.
Yeah, and I don't know that I need to be rocking my COVID flip-flops like constantly, even though they're cute, but yeah.
Yeah, but just wear the heels for 2 minutes. I wore those little boots for like, I don't know, 5 minutes just to like strut a little bit. And I was like, I feel so fun. I feel so playful. It's just fine. And then I took them off and it lasted, you know?
Well, okay, so that's so interesting that you said that because I have such managers that are like, oh, if you're going to wear those shoes, then you have to wear them all. Like, it didn't even dawn on me that I could wear them for 2 minutes. Like, doesn't even dawn on me that I could do that.
Yeah. So there's a research study. I have it somewhere, but it looks at like the Superman effect. So let me stand up. If you do like the Superman pose for 2 minutes, right, it causes like you feel better and
Yeah.
it lasts for a certain amount of time.
Wasn't there a woman that did a TED talk about that? Yeah.
It lasts.
Yeah. I think they had, I might be making this up because sometimes I make stuff up. Make stuff up. But I think that
That's
it
all
was
right.
like,
It's
it
all
was a
made up.
TED talk and it was like people would do it before they went for a job interview. And then some people didn't do it before they went for a job interview or something like that.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
Can we talk about how this works with, like, I want to work on getting to know a really critical part of me and how drag therapy and that play can work into like, okay, I've got a really critical part. So true story, I have a critical part up right now. Well, actually it's not up right now, but it was up yesterday about being a big fat failure. So I have a friend that's like, oh, you're not just a failure, you're a fat failure. And I'm like,
Mm,
exactly. I want to get to know the part of me that was calling me that yesterday.
yeah. So that, remember I said you can start one of two ways. That's another way you can start. So I might say, go in the closet and pick one thing that's that speaks to that part of yourself, right? Whatever that might be. So I would have you just pick one thing, and then I'll have you wear it, and I'll say, and who are you, right? So then I'm going to just quickly go into who you are, right? Because with just one thing, it gives us a little more freedom to then get into this person, right? To this part of ourself.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to get to know who that is. And I'm going to have you tell me your name, what's your gender, how old are you, where do you live? I'm going to really help you get to know that character. And so that kind of brings in drama therapy elements to it as well. So we're not going to necessarily call it your inner critic necessarily. You could be, oh, it's Tammy. Okay, great. But we want to play with a little bit. We want to get what's called aesthetic distance, which means you get a little bit of space from the reality of it. So we're making it a fictional character. And if you can be a fictional character, that gives us a lot more freedom for you to just speak as that character, as opposed to be like, okay, let me interview you as that part right
Yeah.
now. There's going to be a little more resistance because our defenses are up. But if we can dress it up, the defenses go down because it's then play. It's like, oh, this is make believe, but it's not really make believe. We're really getting to know that critic by just putting. I have a black boa. So in my mind, you were wearing a black boa, and that was the dark part of you, right? Or just a
Ooh.
little bit of dark eyeliner, and there she is. She is
Ooh.
angry. Yeah, tell me everything, right? Tell me what's wrong with her. So I'm going to play with that. I want to get to know her, um, and then there's a million different ways we can go with that, right?
The part of me just got really excited.
So that's another part. Great. So then I would want you to embody that part as well, because I might want both
Mm,
parts. And then might want
mm,
both parts to communicate with each other. So then I might have you put a, so I want you to pick a scarf that represents that excited part and put that in the space, right? Wherever that part is. And then you can reverse roles and put on the excited scarf and talk to the critical scarf. And then you switch, and then
wow.
you put on the critical scarf and you talk to the excited scarf, right? So then there's a dialogue between the two parts of you.
That's awesome. I love it so much. And it sounds way more fun than the chair, the empty chair.
Totally. And then I might have you switch to my chair, and then I want you to be Leon, and I want you to talk
Ooh.
to, right? So then you get another perspective. So it can go a ton of different ways. Then we might get your mom in. We
Oh
want to go real
gosh. Sorry, Mom.
sorry. No, just, the possibilities are endless. But if I
I
know
love
you
it.
well and I know that that sounds like your mom, what would your mom say? So pick a wig that would represent mom. Oh, I got the perfect one. Put on a wig, you know.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. And it also doesn't sound like, I mean, I would love to go through your closet for sure, but it also doesn't sound like, I feel like I could do that even with my closet. Like, no, I don't have a black boa. I should get one. But I feel like you could do that with your closet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, in my closet I have like everything, but you don't need everything. You don't.
Yeah.
You just need a little like scarves. I mean, this is from psychodrama. Psychodrama, do you know psychodrama?
A little bit.
So essentially, when I brought mom in, that's some psychodrama, or the concept of reversing roles. That's a psychodramatic technique. When you are one person, then you reverse roles. You become the other person. You talk back to you. That's a
Mm,
psychodrama technique. Oh, so scarves. Yeah, so scarves go a long way. That they always use scarves. So like when you're your mom, you're in this scarf. When you're your sister, you're in that scarf. So it just kind of helps you keep track of them, and what I
mm.
believe helps you embody the part a little more.
Yeah,
So I'll use a
totally.
scarf to represent a lot.
I was thinking about how when we embody parts, or if I speak from a part, or I do sort of that, we call that direct access, where like you're the therapist and you're speaking to the part of Tammy that's really critical. So then I would say, well, she's so fat and she's so stupid and she should have prepared ahead of time. And what the hell's wrong with her? Blah, 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 blah. So if you add that the element of it can be fiction, I feel like that gives me, so when you said that, I thought that actually gives me more allowance, more openness to be to be more exaggerate. I think I could play with it more when you say, "Oh, it can be fiction." Then it helps the parts of me that are like, it has to be exactly right. It has to be exactly what that part would say. Like it allows for play, and it feels like it would allow for more to happen.
For sure. Absolutely. That's why it's in the field of drama therapy, right? Because you get to be pretty dramatic.
Dramatic, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love that. That's a good, really good point.
Because I feel like I don't know if this is up for you, but I feel like what comes up for me is there's like a manager that would be like, well, that's not exactly what that part would say, or that's not exactly right, or sort of like this part that has to get it right, or doesn't want to like lie, or doesn't, I don't know, that would keep me from, but if that part's like, well, it's pretend, so then it doesn't have to um like guard it because it's pretend.
So I would also want to get to know the part that wants to get it right. Like, let's get to know that drag
Ah,
part of yourself. Um, because I just had this image of you like putting on like, I don't know why I had this fantasy of you were like a lawyer. Like you had a suit and you had like a kind of fedora um, and from my experience, when you can do it that way, you can really remember that. Oh, there's Tom the lawyer. He's got the way to do it, you know? And so
yeah,
it's a little more playful and it's also more memorable. So
yeah.
I took this class on rock therapy, and you like get a rock and you can like make it something to represent something simply. I do the same thing with drag therapy, but like you drag up a rock and you take it from somewhere you're not supposed to take rocks in places, but like in your yard, in a place where it's okay, get a rock. Um, and when you do that, you have that rock wherever you put it in your house, and it's just really memorable. Like objects and artifacts hold a lot of significance, and they hold a lot of energy, they hold a lot of feeling, they hold a lot of memories, and they're just really loaded. And it's the same, I think, when we create a character in ourselves, we really
Mm.
remember it. You're like, oh, I remember putting on that stuff. That it makes it more real, it makes it more memorable, and I think just a little more powerful for us, right? Like, oh, I remember when I put on that tiara and I was the Queen of Amsterdam. That was powerful.
I
It kind
love
of
it.
gives us an anchor.
Yeah, that's great. Right, because it's such a great, I think it ends up being a really good like unblending technique, because then if I'm going about my day and all of a sudden I start feeling that like, well, that's not right. And I'm like, oh, there's Tom the lawyer again. And he's up and he's talking to me and like, hey, Tom, what's up? Why are you here? What's going on? Right. So then I can
Mhm.
befriend. It's sort of an unblending and a friending technique, because I'm like, oh, here's Tom the lawyer. What's up, buddy?
Totally.
Love
That's
it.
right. That's right.
So can we talk about wilderness therapy?
Yes, we can definitely talk about wilderness therapy. So I was lying in bed last night and was going through my phone, and I guess I'll have to disclose where we're going. We're the end of this part of the road trip is in Yosemite, and I found this thing to do backpacking for either 3 nights, 4 nights, or 5 nights. And we haven't done any backpacking or camping.
Okay.
We've
You've been
just
just
stayed.
doing like day trips.
Oh yeah, just day hikes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so right now I do like 3 to 4 day hikes a week.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so I woke up this morning. Went to my partner. I was like, "Well, I found something last night." He's like, "Really?" So I think I'm going to talk him into it. So I will be like full on camping for. I'm taking a week in 2 weeks. I'm taking a full week off of work, and so I will be really doing some wilderness therapy, like camping, hiking in Yosemite, which is the most beautiful place in the country.
Wow.
But I really want to do that also. Then in a couple weeks, I'm going to do like a rock climbing retreat thing. So I want to be able to really know how to do all these things. I want to do videos teaching people how to do it. And then I also want to have groups in the wilderness where we do wilderness therapy and also do more adventure type stuff as well.
Wow. Wow.
So I've really immersed myself in this for the past several months.
My gosh, it's
Um,
awesome.
it's going to only get more. extreme for me. I mean, I do very extreme hikes. I just hiked a snow mountain the other. It was like one of the hardest hikes in the country. So that's also the other thing. I don't do like nature walks. I do probably I always look for like the hardest hikes, just because I think they're more fun and the views are amazing. And it's just such a great experience emotionally, physically.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to be able to do the most so I can teach people how to do all types of different activities in nature.
Hmm.
So that's really my goal. I really want to lead wilderness therapy expeditions and hikes and retreats.
That sounds amazing. Um, what, all right, so possible stupid question.
Mhm.
What makes it, what makes it therapeutic? I mean, besides the obvious, like I love hiking. I mean, we probably do, like you say that. I'm like, yeah, I probably do more like, nature walks with my son, and we love doing that. And but like, if we go, like we went up a mountain. I'm using quotes. We went up a mountain and we picked blueberries, and it was fantastic. And there was a beautiful view, and it's therapeutic just doing that, right? Walking and being in nature and just listening and smelling, and like that just feels like it just feeds my soul. So what so that maybe this is Tom talking again, but I'm like, what else can I do to make it
Yeah,
more therapeutic?
for sure. So a wilderness therapy retreat or something I would run is very different than just going on a hike. You're setting up, well, it depends on the type of retreat, right? There's some that are a little nicer where you have cabins, and then there's some that are a little more rustic where you have, you're sleeping in tents. It just depends on the type of retreat. So a lot of the work is doing like kind of group therapy type activities throughout the
Mm,
day, or
okay.
kind of things as you're going on a hike. So there's all kinds of different activities you can do. That's like a wilderness therapy retreat. But something you can do that is kind of the focus on my videos right now, and the focus of what I do when I go on hikes, is I have a category. So in ballroom culture, do you know what ballroom culture is?
Like ballroom dancing?
Yeah, no. So
Oh.
I love when people say that. No, so ballroom culture, or ballroom, it's not culture, but ballroom was in the like 80s and 90s, and it was drag queens, trans folk, competing. They have families. So you have a ball, like a family, and you compete in these competitions that are called balls. And so in the balls, there's several categories. So it'll say category is Butch Queen realness. Category is face. Category is body yada yada, and you got to have like your fabulous body, or it can be anything. Costume. Category is executive realness, so like business attire, whatever it is. So I take from that, and so most people would call it a theme. I call it a category. So you go into the wilderness, and category is whatever your category is,
Why do you call it category instead of theme?
because it's a drag therapy.
Okay.
and I bring drag to everything, because
Okay.
drag, that's my shtick.
Okay.
I'm trying to drag up the world. The
I love
world
it.
needs a little more drag. So how do we drag up the everyday thing? We do it a category, and then it makes it a little more fierce and fabulous too. Because then it could be anything. It's not just, oh, my theme is forgiveness. My theme is gratitude. No, what's your category?
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
can
yeah.
be those things. My category actually what has been um, some of those things, service or things like that. But in a category, there's a little more play, and so I
Yeah.
always want to add a little more play. So what you can do is when you go on your hike, don't think about it until you get to the hike and see what inspires you for your category or your theme for the hike. So
Mm.
what's one that comes to mind right now?
Well, this isn't super fair because I was thinking about you did a thing about colors the other day,
Mhm.
and that blew my mind. And I was like, that's so interesting. So the only
So do
thing that I
your own.
was
Yeah.
okay, so the only thing I was thinking of was colors, and I was thinking of
Color. Great.
yellow. I was thinking of color, and I was thinking of yellow.
Great. So the category today is yellow. I love it, right? It can be anything.
So there's a part of me that's like, well, can that be a cat? That doesn't sound like a theme. That can be a category?
Of course,
Yellow.
anything can
Okay.
be a category. This is your life, Tammy. This ain't anybody else's life. This is yours. So category is yellow. That, you know what, Tammy? I'm stealing that. The category today for me is yellow. And that's going to be my category today. So what that means is I'm going to have that in my mind, consciously or unconsciously, and we're going to see what happens. So as we go on our hike, let's say, oh, I see some yellow right now. There it is. I'm making a costume for. I don't want to. I don't want to tell you what it is. I don't want to give it away. I'm making a costume right now. It's just going to be ridiculous. But anyway, there's yellow in it in your honor. So
Aw.
the category is yellow. I say I find some plants that are yellow. I'll take a picture and I'll just think about that, or I might sit with that for a second. So that's yellow. How do I feel right now with that? So these flowers make me feel, I don't know, excited, sad, nostalgic, whatever it might be, right? So I'm just going to notice that. And as I'm on my hike, I'm just going to have the idea, the concept, the theme of yellow in my mind and see where it takes me, right?
Mm.
Maybe I'm going to be, oh, I'm on the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. And so then you're in the land of Oz. Oh my God, we're in the land of Oz right now. Look, there are the munchkins. And so the hike then becomes a whole new thing. So that's just where my mind went. Of course, I went to the Wizard of Oz. But that's my queer old mind. But you never know where it's going to take you. So when I have a theme in my mind or a category in my mind, it can be just obvious. Like a plant is yellow. There's yellow on this, like some mountains have yellow on them, which just blows my mind. I've seen purple rocks, pink rocks. Yeah, nature is kind of amazing. So there can be the obvious and the concrete, but then it takes you kind of internally. Where does yellow take you? And for me, it took me to then creating Oz on this hike. And then you find Oz. If you look for, you will find Oz. You will find anything you're looking for in nature. And that I think can make the hike therapeutic, that you can just make it a fairyland. It can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a place of mourning. If you're in a mourning place, that can be the darkest hike you ever can imagine, right? If you want to be there, right? And I think it's important for us to be in those feelings sometimes. So this can be a hike. The theme is mourning. And so you might see the moss. You might want to wrap yourself in the moss. You're just really lean into that hike on mourning or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So there's an idea. Have a category and see where your mind takes you.
I love it because I'm going to go back to this category that I keep going to with you, which is the open and this expansive, because it's like that allows for creativity. And because I think you've had all this therapy and all these experiences and you allow yourself to be so open, you can go there where I feel like I really do need to get to know these managers that only keep it as like, I'm going to look for the color yellow. I'm going to look for the color yellow and I'm going to take pictures of the color. So it's like I'm almost wondering with the practice of being open there, it's almost like that's contagious
Hmm.
because then that's going to lead you to Oz versus like it has to be this way. I have to look for the color yellow and that's all it means. And that's
So
so
then you,
I'm just noticing that it was just so beautiful to watch you go through that and then noticing the parts of me that are like, wow, I don't know that I allow myself to do that.
so then that's therapy in itself, right?
Yeah, it's
Huh.
great.
So they're like, oh, there is a part that blocks me. Let me see if you can step aside and how can I get into yellow? How do you embody
Yeah,
yellow? So then I might want you to embody yellow. I'm
yeah.
just going to be yellow, whatever that means. They call me mellow yellow or whatever it is, right? Wherever your mind goes. So there's a psychoanalytic concept that I definitely steal is just free association,
Mm-hmm.
right? You just want to free associate. And I think
Mm,
when we're in nature, our minds open so much. I mean, just chemically, we open up.
yeah.
And so I think we can be a little more free associative if we just give ourselves permission to be
Mm,
yellow or to be in mourning. I just got a veil. So I'm imagining I have this veil on in nature and just really living this dark part of myself. Kind of feeling that. Oh, you're inspiring me now, Tammy. I'm like, ooh, got an idea. Oh yeah, we're gonna get dark this weekend.
I love it. I love it. All right, so I'm going to go back to my critic and the idea of like if I let her and put on that dark makeup and put on that black boa, that actually I really like her when I think of it that way and think of her that way. That I'm like, yeah, that's such like, yeah, I love it because that's sort of the other side of that critic is that I don't know, sort of this strength or this like, I'm doing this thing with my hands, trying to describe it.
She's Italian.
I love it. Right. I actually love that she's Italian. That actually sounds really good. Yeah, that's good.
Well, because I think our patients often are like, yeah, that part, I want to get rid of it. Nope, that's not the
Yeah.
work. The work is to embrace our parts, to accept our parts, to love our parts, right?
Yeah.
When I was thinking this dark part, I was thinking of Beetlejuice. What's the girl's name in Beetlejuice? Like the main
Yeah.
character. She's in Stranger Things. Winona Ryder's character, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Have you seen Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like dark but she's fabulous,
She's so
right?
fabulous. Yeah. Um,
Lydia, her name's Lydia.
oh yeah. I was trying to think of the actor. Michael, is it Michael Keaton? Is
Mm-hmm.
that who's Beetlejuice? Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yes. Well, so, okay, so this is the thing, right? So if I cut off my critic, if my critic is this awesome Italian woman that is strong and wearing the black makeup and the big black boa, and if I cut her off, then I'm cutting off a really cool part of myself that I want. Like I want that. I need that. Like I love her. And so if I cut off the critic, then I'm cutting that off too. And I was like, that's good.
Yeah, totally.
So as we end ish, we'll see where this goes. But as we end, I want you to tell everybody about the show that you're on for that season, about your Instagram stuff, about what you want people to know, how to follow you, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So the show I did is called Drag Heels. I did episode 2, season 2. It's supposed to come out October 2nd. I got an email 2 months ago that said that. So we'll see. I have an IMDb now because of it, but it doesn't say the date that it comes out.
My
So
gosh.
I
So you're
was hoping
officially famous. Does that make you famous? I don't
so
know.
famous. So famous. Um,
So that's so exciting. And is it drag heels as in Heals?
yes, I believe because it's the play on word.
Right.
I learned about it. I was at like a networking event and I was telling people about drag therapy and someone came up to me and he's like, "Oh, have you seen the show Drag Heels?" I was like, "No." It's like, "Oh, it seems like a lot like what you're doing." So I went home, I looked it up. I saw season 1 on Amazon. So I watched some episodes. Like, "Oh, it's really good." So I followed the creator, Tracy Aaron Smith, who is just a fantastic human. And one of the drag queens was like a co-host, and I guess they saw me on Instagram and found me and then reached out to me and asked if I would do an episode of season 2, and I was like, absolutely. And so what it is, it's 8 participants in 10 episodes. Yeah. So season 1, it was supposed to be a documentary on Tracy doing this work with people who essentially hadn't done drag, and the transformational journey it is. It's not a competition reality show. It's
Mm.
like a docu series healing show. So
Mm.
it's about the healing of drag. And so they filmed her as like a documentary, but like, oh, we can do a show from this. So they did 6 episodes, and then it got popular, and so they got a big budget for season 2 and have 10 episodes, and it's men and women, and everyone in between. So it's not just men dressed as women, which I think is really important because drag is not just about drag queens. There's drag kings, there's drag monsters, there's drag everything. So I came in and did an episode with them and did drag therapy workshops for a day with them. And that's
Awesome.
what episode 2 will be. So we'll see how it looks. At least my makeup will be good. They had a makeup artist, so at least my
Yes.
makeup will be flawless.
Mm.
That's all that really matters.
Yeah,
Uh,
agreed.
so that is supposed to come out October 2nd. It was a blast. She is phenomenal. She does these
Mm.
classes called solo theater, and she helps people kind of tell their story through whatever artistry, whatever creative way you can come up with. If it's drag, if it's whatever, she's fantastic. And it's a Canadian show, so she's in Canada.
Okay.
Um, so it's good timing too because RuPaul's Drag Race Canada just came out.
Okay.
So there's a lot of drag in Canada apparently.
Who knew?
Who knew? So there's that. And then yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Drag Therapy NYC. That's where I'm posting my wilderness things. And yeah, I have a website, drag-therapy.com.
So the last question I always ask people is if you weren't doing what you do, and you could do anything in the world you wanted to do, what would you do?
It's such a hard question right now because
I know
there's
you're.
two answers. I mean, I've always wanted to be an actor. I did acting since I was like 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
But that I've kind of found a way to bring that into my life.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I have to say a travel guide. So
Oh,
it's kind of similar to what I'm doing now, but
I know.
I want to go all over the world and bring people all over the world in
Mm,
creative, fun, adventurous ways. So like I'm not fully doing it yet. That's what I want to do, but I'm trying to hopefully make that happen.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I want to be I mean, because I think we are guides as therapists, and
Mm,
this is like a new level.
yeah.
So I want to be a guide.
I love it. And I love that you're like, I'm already doing it. And again, it doesn't look the way we thought it would look, or doesn't look the way we think it's going to look. Like at 8 years old, like you could never guess that this is what you would be doing in Louisiana, 8-year-old little boy in Louisiana. Could you ever imagine that you were doing this?
Oh, I mean, I've always been kind of out there. You know, I came out when I was like 14, so she was ready to be a guide then. She's like, "Come on, y'all, I'm here. I'm queer." Um, but did I think I'd be in a tutu at 12,000 feet elevation? Probably not. You know, like, girl, you crazy. But there she is. She is on top of a mountain in a tutu.
Mm. Thanks for hanging out today. If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe. And if you really like this episode, share it with a friend and leave a review. You can follow me on Instagram at IFS Tammy and join our community on Facebook at the One Inside Podcast. Talk to you next time. Today's episode was sponsored by Brighter Vision. What's the point of having a beautiful website if it doesn't attract the clients you want to see? As the worldwide leaders of website design for therapists, Brighter Vision sees this issue happen way too often. A nice looking website doesn't equate to a successful website. The truth is, your current website might even be turning off potential clients. That's where Brighter Vision comes in. Brighter Vision's team of website designers will create a website that is centered around attracting and retaining your ideal client so that you can have a nice looking website as well as a successful one. Better yet, Brighter Vision is offering $100 off exclusively for listeners of the One Inside podcast. To take advantage of this offer, simply go to brightervision.com/inside. Again, that's brightervision.com/inside.